backed up track, run from the worst emerge on that one wasn't for me, 2 and 2 don't add up, track them out of partners, I had to subtract some. Moved on, move along like a long line, 2 gone while
Welcome back to the videos, everyone. I have kind of a special announcement for you guys. This Memorial weekend, which is probably when you guys are going to be watching this video, we're going to be at an airport in Ankeny, Iowa. It's going to be a 3-day event. We're taking the Civic, obviously. I'm really excited for it because it's going to be my first time being at an airport, and it's going to be my first time doing a 3-day event. I've never been to this location, but I'm super excited to see what how it drives and what it looks like. And also I'm hoping that my new GoPro 11 will get you guys some really cool footage. Then after that, we have the main event. It's probably going to be my biggest race event slash week of the year. Yeah, that's right, week. We are participating in Summit Racing Autocross Week. For those of you guys who don't know what that is, they started doing it last year, and I didn't have the funds to do it last year. And when it came up this year, I jumped on it right away. It is 4 days of back-to-back racing, 3 different tracks. We gotta get ready for that and make sure the car is bulletproof for that. I've never raced that far from home, and I've never raced that many days in a row. And then it doesn't stop there. I have to drive back home Friday night, and then I have a 2.5-hour drive up to Brainerd on Saturday because we are participating in the autocross portion of Carmageddon, which for those of you who are Brainerd veterans, you guys know it as Proving Grounds. And it's an event mainly for imports and sport compacts, or so they say on the website. They have a combination of drag racing, autocross, drifting, road course racing, you name it. Saturday I'm going to be doing autocross, and then Sunday they have a autocross-esque event. It's called Standing Start Shootout, and it's actually going to be using their main competition course, which is kind of like a closed-off section of their road course. So needless to say, it is going to be the most brutal racing I've ever done, just because it's going to be 6 back-to-back days of racing in 3 different states. I really want to do my best and not just kind of sandbag my way through the event. I want to try and lay down the best times I can. The unfortunate thing about Autocross Week is because I'm running on R888s, which is a 100 treadwear tire, I had to go into unlimited class, which is probably not going to be in my favor. I would have liked to have been in Street NA or whichever class it is, but that's what we're stuck with, so we're gonna do our best. Today is currently Thursday, and we're still working on prepping the car for Iowa. There's a couple things I gotta tackle, like getting the harness in, swapping out the spark plugs. But for today's actual topic, I am gonna be working on the airbox on the Civic, because ever since I've modified the front end and made it all tubular and everything, I had to modify the airbox to actually work with this front end, but I never put in something to actually mount it, like hard mount it to the frame or anything. It's always just been kind of laying there in the engine bay, and that's not exactly what you want. So today I'm going to take one of the factory mounts for the airbox, and I'm going to plastic weld it back onto the airbox, and I'm going to show you guys how you guys can actually plastic weld something together yourselves. Alright, so this is my factory airbox. This is what I'm still using on the car. I don't plan to put a cold air intake on the car just because I plan to turbo the car in the future. However, since I've tubed the front end, I had to modify the airbox because the factory unit came out to about here, and that would have interfered with this upper hoop over here. So I had to cut it down and plastic weld it, and you can see it actually got ran over, so there's a whole bunch of patchwork and everything we had to do. However, the main thing is that it had to be shortened up. It was out to about here. So these are my factory mounts that broke off when it got ran over. So we're gonna take one of these and try and make it work, and I'm gonna show you guys how to like actually plastic weld stuff back together. All you're really gonna need for this is a propane torch like such, and then some type of a soldering iron. You guys can pick these up at like O'Reilly's or at Menards or whatever for really cheap. This is a much older one, but you can get them for like 10 bucks. So I'm just gonna mock up the airbox to where it's actually gonna be sitting in the car. And these usually go on pretty easy. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put the nut on. So that way it ends up exactly where it's supposed to be. Alright, so this side is pretty much, could go on a little bit better, but this is about as good as I'm going to get it with the car on. I'm going to try massaging the other side now. So we basically got the bracket mounted. It's not as good as I want it to be, but it's good enough for now. It does kind of stick up a little bit, so I think I'm gonna take like an angle grinder or something and just cut the top off, but for now it's tacked in place. So then I'm gonna take this bolt off and we're gonna come over here and actually get it like welded up properly. Okay, so what you're also gonna need is like little pieces of scrap like this. You don't absolutely need it, but if you have other pieces you can mold in, that's gonna help a lot. You can see there's a little bit of a gap here, so I'll be able to take this and kind of fill in that gap. All right, so you're gonna take your torch and you're gonna back it down, and you're gonna heat up the plastic area that you're gonna be welding. And you don't want to start on fire how I just did, but you're gonna kind of want to just warm it up until it gets that like kind of wet glossy look. And the other thing to note is not all plastic is the same. Some stuff is gonna melt and weld better than others. Some stuff does not melt, it just kind of like burns and whatnot. And then what you're gonna end up doing is you're gonna take your soldering iron and you're gonna heat it up with the torch just so you get better usability out of it. You're gonna kind of go back and forth, and you don't need to get this red hot or nothing, but you just need to warm it up more than what it will be just plugged in. So, and then I'm gonna hit the plastic real quick one more time just to make it as pliable as possible. And I'm gonna do one area at a time. I'm gonna pick like a 2-inch section to try and do. And you're just gonna kind of take the warm and soft plastic and you're just gonna kind of like massage it in next to the surface that you're trying to weld together. Now these surfaces are nice and close, so I can just kind of take it and you just kind of smooth it out. And you just kind of paintbrush it in. I'm just kind of gooping it all together. So this section is all one piece now. Now we gotta start up here and there's a gap, so I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna figure out, you're gonna have to kind of mess around with it a little bit, but I'm gonna figure out how I can kind of like stick it down in there and get it welded up better. Back it way down. So I'm just going to go ahead and warm up this whole top part of this piece because we're going to actually use the soldering iron to cut the excess off and not start it on fire. But I just want to warm it up where need be. And you can always come back with the torch too and continue to warm it up. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit now that I'm warming up the soldering iron. Just gonna keep some heat on it. Alright, so the torch goes off, and now what we have to do is we have to try and cut this piece to size using the soldering iron. I gotta get some pliers because that's really hot. Alright, and then I'm just going to come down this side. And then that is all done. And now I'm going to try and put a little bit more heat into this part, but it's plenty pliable enough. That's enough. We don't want to just keep burning it, even though that's kind of what I've been doing. So now I can just kind of work it all in. The only thing I'm trying to be careful of is not like actually breaking through the box itself and creating an air hole. That's what we don't want. And I need a little bit more plastic up here, so I'm just going to kind of work it up and over. So I'm just kind of massaging it into place. Make sure you have some kind of a fan on it or ventilated area, because this stuff does stink and it's probably not the best for you to be breathing it in the way I am. And then this part doesn't matter because it's going to be on the underside, so looks aren't really a priority, but you kind of, in order to get it to look nice, you kind of just sit and like massage it and smooth it out. Alright, and this part, since there's not really a gap, you don't really need like filler material. Filler material doesn't hurt, so I think what I'm going to do is take this little leftover piece that I have and try and work it in just for added strength. But you don't need like a filler piece everywhere. It's not like regular metal welding where you always need like metal to put in. This, you're kind of just softening the plastic and bonding it with each other. I'm going to kind of stick my soldering iron in there and trying to heat it up at the same time. Don't start the plastic on fire, that does you no good. Alright. So now, and it should be warm enough though where you can literally just like melt it into place, and it's just gonna, I'm just gonna kind of cut through it so that way the iron goes through and it actually works its way down to each like surface and it cuts through that piece that I've bonded in. So now that that piece is like an integral part of both pieces, I'm going to start smoothing it out and work, kind of doing the finishing touches on it and working it in. Now it can go back in the car where it's supposed to go. Alright, now the airbox is back in, and this makes a big difference. It's a lot more solid now. Even though it's only one mount, it's going to be a lot better than it just laying in there. So now you guys know how to weld plastic. You guys can do this on anything, not just airboxes. You might even be able to do this on dashboards. I wouldn't really recommend it. I've never tried it. Use that at your own discretion. And as you guys saw, it's hard to make it look like really good. So that's up to you. But you could also sand it and like Bondo it or whatever. But and you can also use this on bumpers, but you also need to be careful because, like I was saying, not all plastic like melts the way this one did and kind of just like welds together that easily. Some plastic, all it does is burn. It does not like melt and become pliable. Plastics are different. So use at your own discretion, but that's basically what you guys need to know, and I'll catch you on the next video.